I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 128 of the Future Template Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Carolyn Solo, PhD, LCSW, EMDR consultant, EMDR therapist, coach for EMDR therapists, mom of 3 daughters. This week, I want to talk about launching. Launching, whether it's launching for intensives or a group for a course or a webinar or whatever. I want to talk about what it's like to launch when it feels like everything around you is falling apart. Because boy, is this a topic I am so familiar with. I know that the vast majority of my podcast audience is women, and that lots and lots of you are also mothers. And hey, let's be real, life can often feel like it's falling apart. Our lives as working parents are a gingerly constructed house of cards, precarious at best. And when even one card shifts slightly, well, everything starts to fall. And I talk in my programs, my group coaching program, and then also in my new video course about how you can look at having sort of a launch for your intensive, sort of like periodic phases in your marketing year where you really push intensives kind of as if you were launching a product. So I think that this is relevant to that. But I also want to talk like kind of on a more deep and personal dive about what it was like for me to launch the EMDR Intensive Practice Formula, my 12-hour on-demand course that tells you everything you need to know about launching and running a successful EMDR intensives practice. So I have launched this course that teaches you how to launch, right? But what that launch actually took out of me. I want to keep it real with all of you fellow entrepreneurs out there. Nothing about this is easy, okay? It's blood, sweat, tears, time, and money. All of those, there are costs to business building. So let me just give you a little peek into what that's looked like for me this fall as I've launched this new product. So for the entire fall of 2025, I've had the goal of getting my on-demand video course, the EMDR Intensive Practice Formula, out into the world for purchase. At this point, I've successfully launched my 12-week group course 3 times and run it 3 times, and will be launching it again in late January 2026. The 3 rounds of this group have given me the opportunity to expand and refine and really streamline the video course. And so I felt like it was finally ready to be out in the world as a standalone on-demand product. And hey, I know how to launch by now, right? Well, at least I know how to launch a group. This is my first time launching a course. 2 different markets, 2 different sets of needs. There is lots of overlap, but there are people for whom the group makes sense, and there are people for whom the on-demand course makes sense, right? And that's why I wanted to have both options. And just as a reminder, the video course is the course that anyone who participates in the group gets as well, right? So in January 2026 and beyond, anyone who participates in the group gets the most up-to-date version of the video course and ongoing access to any future updates and revisions, just to be clear. So why do I think there is a need for an on-demand version of the course without including the live group support? Well, for some people, the time commitment of the group calls is a lot, right? 12 hours is a lot of time for busy entrepreneurs, and it can feel daunting to set that much time aside. For some people, a group environment doesn't really meet their needs. They'd rather laser focus on their own goals and not necessarily participate in a cohort model where there is, back and forth and some expectation that you're, providing support to others in addition to receiving support. And some people, and I honestly cannot say that I'm one of these people, but these people do exist, are incredibly driven and self-motivated. They can just take, they say, give me the roadmap and I'll take it from there. I don't need additional coaching support to get it done. This has never been me. I always like to have that live support, but no, I have done some courses. No, that's definitely true that I've done plenty of on-demand courses, but I also know when I really benefit from, the additional live support. But in any case, some people want to have all of the course content, immediately at once and be able to like move around through the course without waiting for it to be dripped out every 2 weeks like it is in the group. Some people find being in a group daunting for a variety of reasons, or maybe it doesn't fit their learning style. Some people don't want to wait for the 2 times a year that the group is offered to get the content. There are probably some other reasons, but those are the main ones I can think of off the top of my head as to why the on-demand course was a good option to add in addition to the group. So just if you want a refresher on what the group is, what the course is, both the group and the course, but we're talking about the course here, I should say. It's 6 modules, right? Module 1 is intro to the course roadmap and curriculum, and talking about your why you're doing this, why you're wanting to switch to intensives. Module 2 is your intensive structure, both how you structure the intensive itself and how you restructure your practice to make space for intensives, how to use RTEP to treatment plan your intensives, how to set and talk about your fees, and all the paperwork you need for a successful intensive. That's module 2. Module 3 is the first marketing module, talking to clients, talking to referral sources, social media marketing, email marketing and freebies, lots of scripts and guides in there included along with the lessons. Module 4 is the second marketing module, and also there's a mini module on working with dissociation. So there's a 3-lesson subset on dissociation theory and working with dissociation in an intensive, and it's very practical and hands-on with like, here's exactly what you do in these situations, case examples, all that stuff. The marketing pieces in module 4 are web copy and a little bit about SEO, and leveraging AI in your marketing, and that also aligns well with the lesson on writing web copy and SEO. Module 5 is all clinical skills. The ASSIST protocol, acute stress system stabilization, CPOS, the constant installation of positive orientation to safety, the developmental needs meeting strategy, the DNMS, and ego states intervention, encouragement interweaves, an IFS-informed EMDR, and then module 6 is more clinical skills, which include GTEP, the group traumatic episode protocol, and using that in an intensive, and then 2 lessons on the pre-verbal trauma protocols, and then where do you go from here is the last lesson, sort of like now what, right? So that's the course, and there are many of you who prefer it in this on-demand format, and so it's available for you now. And if you buy within the next week, so by Christmas Eve, December 24th, and use the code HOLIDAY10 at checkout, all capital letters holiday, HOLIDAY 10, use that code at checkout, and you'll get $100 off the price, a little pre-Christmas sale for you. So that's the course. But on to what made it such a heavy lift to get it out. So first of all, what needed to be done before I could get the course out? So, I had the video course more or less, but I had to review every single video module I'd recorded, which is over 12 hours of video, and make any necessary edits or updates. I tried not to overdo this and be a perfectionist. I left some stuff that was okay enough, but not perfect in some way or another, and so that could be changed in the future and was probably only noticeable to me, so just left that. I fully re-recorded maybe 10 lessons total out of the 33. I added 4 completely new lessons, and that meant researching the content, creating the PowerPoints, recording the videos. Some days this felt so hard, like the video recording in particular. I just did not want to do it. To be honest, some of these got done at the 11th hour, like the first week of December, because the recording is just such a big energetic lift, right? Not to mention I record a podcast episode every week too. And then I have Instagram reels and stuff. So a lot of on-camera time. But I've said it many times, and it's still true. The podcast is one of my non-negotiables. And then after that, Instagram. Those 2 I'm always doing. The podcast is my number 1 selling tool. It's the way that potential buyers come into my universe and get to know, like, and trust me because they hear me talk at a length for a long time for many, many, many episodes. And they believe that I'm the one to help them launch intensives. My episodes came out every single week this fall, except the week we moved. Oh yes, we moved this fall. That's one of the things that happened. I'll give the full rundown on that in a couple minutes. And I gave into overwhelm that week, but every other damn week of this fall, which was really, really hard. It was like, I'll tell you about it soon in a second. But I had a podcast episode out because I know how vital the podcast is to my marketing flow. It's like everything. So that is a non-negotiable. That 1 week, I let it slide, but it's a non-negotiable, really. I also updated a ton of the supporting material in the course. Not only do you get video lessons, but you get the full slides for each lesson, and you also get like over 30 resources, scripts, protocols, planning tools, marketing templates, social media guides, homework assignments. All that's included with the course. So all of that got a refresh and an update. Yeah, all that had to happen content-wise. Not to mention figuring out how to use the course hosting platform that I use. I use Circle. I knew how to use it for a group course, but I had to figure out what do I do to use it for an on-demand course, which needs to have very different functionality and access and stuff like that. And I had to upload every single video and document and slideshow in the correct spot in Circle. So just lots of like annoying nitty gritty stuff. Make sure the paywalls were working correctly, any coupon codes were working, all that. And I needed to write launch emails and come up with something resembling a social media launch plan too. Oh, and write a sales page for this course. So yeah, and that all had to happen. So that's what took me almost 3 months. I had this lovely idea back in September that it was going to take a couple weeks. Maybe if I hadn't had the October and November that I had, but even still, I think I was being a little delusional about how much work it was going to take to get this done. And you know, a little healthy delusion often helps things happen. So I'm not sad about that. But let me tell you what actually happened during those 2 months. So first of all, October 1st, we moved to a new rental house. A lot of you know that we moved to Vermont in July of 2024. So we moved to one rental house. We are building our house, but it's taking for flipping ever. So we spent 1 year in a rental house and had planned to spend one more year there until the house is finished, because we're still supposed to move in September of 2026. But we found out in late August that we needed to move out of our rental. So in very little time, we had to find a new place to move into, which of course needs to be in the same town that we're in because of our kids' schools. And we didn't want to live in a different town. But the new house that we moved to is a big improvement in a lot of ways, actually turns out. But still, we had to move, and we will have to move again next fall. But this move was not anticipated at all. Basically, 6 weeks we had to get ready to go. So that happened October 1st, and the rest of October we were still reeling from all the adjustments that come with moving, finding our stuff, unpacking, adjusting to the new location, adjusting to the new house, the kids getting used to their new bedrooms, and figuring out the Wi-Fi and the bills and where am I going to work and where's my husband going to work. And we had to wait 20 days for some of our stuff because it was, in a like one of those packing module things, and we needed to wait for movers to be able to be available to unpack it and bring everything in. So, all that, not fun, very stressful and expensive. And then the last week of October, out of nowhere, my father-in-law went to the emergency room for increasing insomnia, sleep apnea, and just like general confusion. After a couple of weeks of trying to figure out what the heck was happening, he was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma, basically the worst kind of brain cancer you can have, and his was inoperable. It was already quite advanced, and he was in no condition for surgery. Wouldn't probably have survived surgery. Basically, when it's operable, you're lucky to have like 15 months. And inoperable, well, the prognosis is pretty bad. So my in-laws live in Minnesota, which is a 3-hour flight from Vermont. So my husband went out to Minnesota from November 10th to 15th, to see his dad and help out his mom and sister who live out there, figure out what was going on. While he was there, the prognosis got grimmer and grimmer, and he was moved to hospice on November 14th. My husband came back to Vermont the next day. On the 18th, he died. And we were not expecting things to go that quickly, but they did. So less than a month after going to the ER for the first time, he was dead. So the next day, my husband flew back out for the funeral and was away from the 19th to the 23rd. So I was single parenting more or less for pretty much 2 straight weeks while my husband was processing his father's sudden illness and then death. And my kids were trying to grapple with their grandfather dying. And I was still trying to get everyone fed, to bed, to school, to after school activities. Oh, and of course, my autistic daughter is homeschooled. So I was supervising that alone too. Usually we divide that up because we both work from home. And I was working and trying to get this program put together and out into the world. And then it was Thanksgiving break 2 days after my husband came back, and 2 out of 3 kids were out of school for the entire week. They didn't have school starting that Monday of Thanksgiving week. And we'd already planned a trip to Quebec City, and everyone was like, oh, cancel it. but it was the first big trip that my autistic 9-year-old had actually wanted to go on, which is huge, in over a year. Like, she really wanted to go, and she hasn't wanted to do much of anything for almost 18 months. So we didn't want to cancel. And she'd been doing really well and was really excited about this trip. So we're like, oh, let's just go. It's been a lot, but, you know, ugh. So we went. And the trip actually went really well. She had a great time. My other kids had a great time. But, traveling is exhausting and dysregulating in the best of circumstances. And even more so when it's been an entire 2 months of dysregulation and chaos leading up to it. So it was like I was a shell of a human by the end of this trip. And the final icing on the cake of chaos, my 9-year-old, autistic 9-year-old, cannot handle a dentist at all. Like, she cannot be in a dentist chair. So we went on a waiting list for sedation dentistry for her for months. And in mid-October, we got the word that she had to go in on October 1st, and that's when she had to go, or else she was going to lose her slot. And the place where we were going to go was 2.5 hours south of us. It was a hospital that had admitting privileges for our dentist and could do anesthesia there and stuff. So as we returned from Quebec, my husband drove home with our 2 younger kids, and my oldest and I kept on driving 2.5 more hours in the big snowstorm, actually, which was a little terrifying, to stay overnight near the hospital where her procedure would be. You may recall that a couple of weeks ago, I recorded an episode in a hotel bathroom. That was the morning of her procedure, and I had to record an episode, and so that's where I was, and so I did it, doing what had to be done. The procedure went about as well as possible, thank goodness, all things considered, but she had major, major decay and had to get 2 adult molars removed that were almost like half decayed. It was pretty awful, plus 8 baby teeth. She also had a really serious deep cleaning while sedated because her teeth were absolutely covered in plaque due to her immense struggles with dental hygiene for like years. To which I say, if you're judging me right now, you do not know what it means to have an autistic kid with extreme sensory challenges, right? You can't just make them brush their teeth. Anyway, that's not the point. But I certainly have dealt with that judgment from many people many times. So I know it can creep in. But then I had to drive her 2.5 hours home as she was coming out of anesthesia, a kid who has a lot of sensory challenges and gets overwhelmed very easily, coming out of anesthesia and nursing a sore, bleeding mouth with 10 teeth gone, which she was not expecting. And her mouth continued to hurt for a good 5 days post-op. She was eating pudding and popsicles only for days and was miserable and was angry. So yeah, and wasn't going to school that week. So she's much better now, but that's the short version of what my life looked like during those 2 months that I was attempting to get this course ready to go out into the world. So let me be honest. I mean, I'm already being honest, but lots of stuff fell by the wayside entirely during October and November as a result of trying to survive life and trying to get this course done. Some of those things that just didn't happen: cleaning my house, like at all, changing the sheets on the beds, cleaning the toilets, keeping up with laundry, cooking real meals, talking to my husband about anything outside of logistics. And we fought a lot too. And I am not proud of the version of me that showed up for him while he was going through losing his father. I was kind of a mess. Any kind of self-care fell by the wayside of any kind. I ate frozen food and like convenience food and fast food for like a month and a half. My clinical notes. Yeah, I'm pretty darn behind on those. Anything work related that wasn't completely, utterly non-negotiable essential. And some essential stuff fell by the wayside too. I missed a payroll for I have a therapist who works for me. I missed one of her paychecks because I just forgot about it. Made up for it, of course, quickly as soon as I realized, but yeah. I had some volunteer commitments and I had to completely cancel those. Basically, my life looked like an utter disaster, and I was running on caffeine and carbs and fumes. Yeah, and antidepressants. Oh, yeah, very important. But I got it done. How did I do it? Well, it was not pretty at all. Lots of little bits of time here and there. Seriously, like 5 to 10 minutes of chunks of time when I would work on things. I would look at my to-do list and see what I could do in a little time window that I had wherever I was. For example, when we were traveling in Quebec and I had 10 minutes While everyone was watching a show in our hotel room, I took that little bit of time and I updated a few PowerPoint slides, for example. I had a to-do list that was constantly growing and changing, but always in front of me. So when I had those little pockets of time, I could look at something and cross something off, right? I had a project, I used Notion, and that's the project management tool that I use, and that was essential. And this is the first time I've really used a project management tool effectively, and it really helped me keep track of everything. So I will be doing that going forward. I could see what tasks needed to be done. I could add things. And if someone else had to help me with something, for example, my CFO, what do I call it? No, not CFO. That's something else. FMO, fractional marketing officer. CFO is corporate financial. No. Fractional marketing officer, Brent. If he was in charge of a task for the project, which he did help me with a lot of stuff, I could see where he was on something, what else needed to happen, if there was something that I needed him to finish before I could work on something. So that did help me stay organized, thank God. Making myself do at least one task a day for the project, no matter how small. That was just like a commitment I made to myself. I didn't always meet that goal, but I did do something. And it just felt like I was moving the needle a little bit, like even the tiniest bit. Even if it was as small as like uploading a single document to a spot where it needed to be. It still counted as checking something off and moving things ahead, right? Trying to block time for stuff I had to do that needed more focus. I did try do that when I had to record things. I aimed for like a 1 or 2 max 2 hour block for like recording on video or working on new updating module content, right? I didn't get unrealistic and hope for like a 4 hour span of time. I love to work that way when I can, to have those like deep focus sessions, and I really do my best work, but I just couldn't do that with this project. Like I just did not have the time or the capacity or anything. So if I got an hour or an hour and a half, I like zoomed and just like did whatever I could during that hour and got a lot done. I had accountability from my business coach and from Brent, my fractional marketing officer. My business coach helped me keep all of the nitty-gritty tasks in focus. We like meticulously planned and scheduled every task I had to do, from small to big, that needed to happen, and like schedule when they're going to happen, and like problem solved and stuff. And I could message her in Slack in between our meetings. And she was super supportive and understanding and helped me pivot when I would inevitably miss another deadline. We initially planned to launch late September, right? And then it was mid-October. And then it was mid-November. And then it was December 8th, which actually turned into December 10th. But December 10th, it got out there. And she never made me, thank you, Carrie, never made me feel like I was failing or like I couldn't do it. She just said, you're doing a lot. Just keep moving forward. She kept me steady and focused. And she like adapted with me as I was trying to keep it all together. I never would have done this without her. So huge shout out to Carrie. Thank you very much, my business coach. And then Brent, my fractional marketing officer, for making my slides, making my documents look pretty, writing the sales page for the course, creating the sales page, getting my launch emails ready to go, keeping my weekly social media and podcast content machine moving even when I felt like I was drowning, reading my late night texts and understanding my garbled requests and getting things done when they needed to be done at the 11th hour. That was huge. So thank you, team. And honestly, just not giving up, even when I wanted to. Many times I thought, what's the point? What if no one even buys this? Why am I doing this? But I just knew this was a goal that I'd had for so long that I had to see through. Like, now was the time I was going to do it. Even if I just wanted to say that I got it done, that was going to be enough. That I completed it when things were crashing down all around me. So I kept doggedly like forging ahead, even when it felt like I was one step forward, 2 steps back. And when I kept having to renegotiate my launch dates, I just kept doing it. And frankly, launching in December is not ideal for many reasons. That's why this was not the plan, but it's what finally happened. And I'm just so proud of myself that I got here, even if the sales for this round are negligible. I've had some sales already since I started offering it. So I'm saying, hey, that is a win. But it's not going to be a blowout success by any means. And this is an evergreen product that I'm going to keep launching. And this is the first time I'm doing it. So, whatever, it's still new and fresh. I'm just still very, very, very happy and proud that I got it done. So yeah, that's a little bit of a behind the scenes of a pretty messy and ugly process of getting the EMDR Intensive Practice Formula on demand video course out into the world. I just want to keep it real about how hard this entrepreneur and mother life is. It's so much. And we show up best we can, even when it's ugly and so far from perfect that we sometimes wonder if it's even worth trying at all. But the results do make it worth it, whatever those results look like. And like success looks like a million different things. And hey, if you want to take the plunge with this course right now, I would love that. Like I mentioned, from today until December 24th, take 100% off the course. 100%. No, $100. That would be free. $100 off the course cost with the code, all caps, holiday 10. So capital H, capital O, capital L, capital I, capital D, capital A, capital Y, 10, holiday 10, all caps at checkout. And I'll put the link for the course sales page in the show notes. Hope you'll take advantage of it. And happy holidays to you, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, New Year's, or just surviving Chinese New Year in February, I think, or just surviving another year in this late capitalist hellscape we call Earth. Okay. I hope this was inspiring to some of you, or at least just made you feel seen, made you feel like, oh yeah, this shit is hard and I'm not the only one struggling. You are not, I promise. We're all mucking through the muck together. Sending love to you all and my forever gratitude for every listen this podcast gets. I am so excited. I'm taking 2 weeks fully off of work, except for podcasts and social media. Those are the two things I'm keeping. But I'm thrilled that I get to do that. And I hope you have some rest and relaxation in store as the year comes to a close. I appreciate all of you. I hope some of you take the chance on this course and it can be the ticket to a really new, a transformational year in your practice in 2026. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all so much.